nosy dotes and little lambsy divey, I could lead Ivy too, wouldn't you? Hey, look at this. Look at what got left on my door. I am invited to attend the Eternal Happiness 2026 Jehovah's Witness Convention. And wouldn't you know it, that it perfectly takes place at the same time that this video is coming out. So if any of you are in the Huntington area and would like to hear the good word of God and Jehovah that's going on, it's happening right now. And you're missing it. You already missed Friday. It ended 30 minutes ago. You can make it to tomorrow. You can make it to tomorrow's. And tomorrow, they will be discovering the path to eternal happiness by examining Jesus' famous sermon on the Mount.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you have all had a splendid week or few weeks since I've been on a brief hiatus. Which, by the way, wait a minute. Starguts, didn't you say you were moving? Why are you still here? Well, it is currently that week that I am just in like a waiting period, and I mentioned putting out a video during this waiting week, but I was like, no, things are a little bit delayed. So I'm now using this waiting week to make sure that our summer in Tromaville starts on time, because why not? Obviously, from the boxes and the bubble wrap behind me, I have gotten a good kickstart on packing things. I'm not completely done, but I have gotten a lot done. I'm bored, I'm waiting. It might still be delayed, and I wish I could tell you, I really wish I could tell you that at the moment you guys are watching this video, I'm finishing up getting settled into the new place. I wish I could tell you that with confidence. I don't know. There might be one more video of me with this environment because I don't know what's going on. Things are being delayed. So might as well make sure some of my Troma films are on time while I'm in this weird limbo waiting period. And I've been extremely anxious to watch this first film that we are kicking off our summer in Tromaville with, because before I even really knew what Troma was or anything, I had this film recommended to me by so many people in my life over and over and over. One of which I'm pretty sure was one of my college professors. And that film is Tromeo and Juliet from 1996 and directed by Lloyd Kaufman. Which, by the way, fun fact, one of the writers here for Tromeo and Juliet is James Gunn. Yes, that James Gunn, who, corrected me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure got his start with Troma, so that's pretty cool. From what I understand, Tromeo and Juliet is one of the bigger Troma cult classics out there. And yeah, I know we still didn't get to Nukem High, Class of Nukem High. It was supposed to be in May, and then all of this stuff started, and I will be getting to it, but I can't do it first in the summer of Tromaville, even though I do need to watch it, admittedly. But damn it, I have waited far too long to watch Tromeo and Juliet. I have been recommended this movie since I was in high school. It has to be first. There's no other way. I have to watch it first. And honestly, after watching it, I'm extremely surprised how serious or genuine of an adaptation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet this is. Well, serious for Troma standards. And after watching it, I'm gonna die on this hill. I would go as far as to say that if Shakespeare himself were alive today, he would actually really, really enjoy this version of his play. And I will explain why later on, but first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any kind of running, crashing, loud noises that you may hear going on in the background, those are my cats. Also, my movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a piece, rather than giving you this full play-by-play of every single little thing that happens. So in other words, I try to refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise sometimes, depending on what I want to discuss with the film. If you would like to watch Tromeo and Juliet before or after this review, you can do so on our very best friend Tubi TV. I am not sponsored by Tubi, at least not yet, but I will provide a link to it in the description below, so it is that much easier for you to go out and watch this movie if you so choose to. Also, if you are 100% completely new here and don't even know what Troma is, maybe short content warning. I think majority of the people who watch my videos and are here don't need this content warning. They know what Troma is and they know what to prepare for. But on the very off chance that someone new is stumbling upon my videos and you don't know much about me or you don't know much about Troma, Troma is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. And Tromeo and Juliet depicts some essay, some incest, and some self-harm, just to name a few big ones. So if those subjects discomfort you, then this may not be the movie for you. But with all of those pleasantries out of the way, let's just jump right on into this review. This adaptation of Romeo and Juliet focuses on two families in Manhattan, the Qs and the Capulets, and the feud between the family's head figures, Monty Q and Cap Capulet. While the original play never gives explicit reason for this quote-unquote ancient grudge, Troma's adaptation showcases the Q and Capulet men to be former filmmakers and business partners who had a falling out once one of them, Q, was blackmailed into signing over his rights to the company. Many years later, the children of the two houses, Tromeo Q and Juliet Capulet, cross each other's paths at a costume party and fall in love upon first sight. However, much trouble follows them as not only are their families enemies, but Juliet is arranged to marry a rich butcher named London. And like the original play, the star-crossed lovers plan their elopement. While Tromeo and Juliet is very gory, comedic, and dirty, it still manages to be a surprisingly faithful adaptation to its source material. It maintains a fairly serious level of adapting the play, going as far as to sometimes use actual dialogue from Romeo and Juliet, while sprinkling in pieces of Troma comedy, absurdity, and vulgarity throughout. Also, Lemmy from Motorhead is the narrator. Okay, there is always at least one thing in a Troma film that just, I never, how can I even expect to see this? There's always just something I don't expect to see, and man, do I love it. It keeps me on my toes. And as I said in the introduction, I really truly do think that Shakespeare would love this version of Romeo and Juliet. And if you think that he wouldn't, you don't know too much about Shakespeare. Everything that I know about Shakespeare was required of me and against my will because I studied English. And if you did not know this, then let me tell you that Shakespeare was a dirty little pervert. He was raunchy as hell. He loved his sexual innuendos. He loved dirty jokes. He loved sex, 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 sex. And also, he pretty frequently, explored taboo subjects. As I said in the content warning, Tromeo and Juliet goes over incestuous components, and Shakespeare never really shied away from that himself. So I just, dare I say that Shakespeare was perhaps the Troma of his time? Or maybe Troma is the Shakespeare of our time? Or maybe both? I do have a note in my script right here that when I was writing this part, I was slightly under the influence. So if this feels like a reach, that is probably why. However, I still think it's very funny to claim that Troma is the Shakespeare of our time. And honestly, what the fuck? Troma did so good adapting this. What? I love how seriously Troma takes the subject of Shakespeare, and how this is just like a genuinely great and faithful adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, despite, as I said, having all of those Troma elements sprinkled in throughout. Well, okay, maybe not really sprinkled in. It's more like a Troma movie with like accurate information from the source material sprinkled in. And while this movie is spoofing the source material, it feels like it's doing it out of love and not any sort of mocking hatred like any other comedy parodying Romeo and Juliet might do. Something that I would probably do myself because I was not a big fan of Romeo and Juliet. I really don't like Romeo and Juliet. I only read it once, the one time I was required to read it in high school. But Tromeo and Juliet feels like it was made by somebody who actually really loves or at least appreciates the original work. Like, it feels like Kaufman is really serious about even though there is a lot of creative liberty going on in this to make it all like Troma-rific or whatever, even though it's super Tromified, it still feels like Kaufman took the task of adapting Romeo and Juliet really seriously. Like, yeah, it's still like a goofy comedy with gross out humor and uncomfortable moments and what have you. But this, like, there are also some very serious and genuine moments. And I was so surprised for Troma to take like a serious lens at times. I don't know. Does that make sense? Because many of the other Troma films that I've seen, which I think it's only been 3, I've only seen 3 others so far, but they've been like really high intensity absurdity. And while Tromeo and Juliet gets absurd, it's not exactly to the same extent as something like Poultrygeist or Redneck Zombies. But anyway, I feel like I'm almost getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's leave the synopsis section and start talking about this movie. I bet you didn't guess that I would reread Romeo and Juliet in order to make this video, did you? Did you? Well, I did. I read the Spark Notes. Actually reread Romeo and Juliet are you fucking insane? I prefer Macbeth. Even though I didn't reread it, I did get a refresher on the original narrative because the last time I read it was in high school. Now, yes, I did have to read Shakespeare in college, but they skipped that one since, you know, people mostly read it in high school. And while Tromeo and Juliet is what I would say a faithful adaptation to Romeo and Juliet, it is not a beat for beat copy of the original. Thank God. It's not exactly the film. There is, like I said, a lot of creative liberty happening. But it does have all of the important narrative beats in it, including details such as like who dies, when they die, why they die, or even things such as the costume party and them meeting at the costume party and Tromeo being run off, or like Juliet's potion, even though the potion does something different in Troma than it does in the original. All of the like important details of what is Romeo and Juliet are still there, even though it is not a beat for beat retelling. Like I don't think I would even call this a retelling. I would just more call it an adaptation. But maybe adaptation and retelling are one and the same. Not to me though. According to some people on the internet, the difference between an adaptation and a retelling is that adapting something is changing its medium, and retelling is like literally retelling it in your own words or in your own way. The more you know. But I, for one, am very thankful that it's not a beat for beat, like they didn't literally take the play and remake the play. Because, okay, I didn't reread Romeo and Juliet, but on my, like, refresher, give me a summary of like each act, my Spark Notes. From that, I could tell that the original narrative of Romeo and Juliet is very centralized on what is happening between Romeo and Juliet themselves, which, I mean, granted, it's called Romeo and Juliet. Of course, it's mostly going to be focused on what's going on between them. But what I like about Tromeo and Juliet is that we get to see more stuff from the people surrounding the couple and not just the couple themselves. And getting to see more insight or getting to have more focus on other characters that are surrounding the two, I feel like gives some more layers to the narrative in general. It's more than just like this love story of star-crossed lovers. We now also have this story going on between the feuding fathers, or we also have this story of the house cook who is the nurse in the original play, what's going on between her and Juliet, or just like between the cousins and friends of each family. And I think that is probably one reason why I like Tromeo and Juliet a lot more than its source material, is because we aren't hyper focused on just Romeo and Juliet. We're getting a lot of information of the people surrounding them. So it feels like we're getting not only more details on the story, but we're just getting more. We're just getting more out of the story in general, and I like that. I like that it's not just focused on these two characters. And yes, while I did hate reading Romeo and Juliet in high school, there were two characters that made reading it worth it to me, and I'm going to completely butcher their names, so come for me and roast me in the comments. Mercutio.
Here it is with all of the information.
Mercutio scans to Mercutio.
And Benvolio, who are aka Murray and Benny in Tromeo and Juliet. And let me tell you, when I had to read Romeo and Juliet, I'm pretty sure I had to do it for an AP English course, and one of the projects we had to do was create a Facebook profile, modernize one of the characters, make them a Facebook profile, give them modern stuff to say that is in character for them, and I did mine for Mercutio, because he was my favorite character. And let me tell you, Murray is exactly what I pictured. Benny is exactly what I pictured. Those two were my only favorite characters in the original play, and the way that Troma decides to depict them is literally everything I ever could have dreamed of.
Get away from my house, you little punk. I should fucking die! You're an asshole!
They are perfect. While I loved that those two characters were everything that I would have imagined when I first read this play, nothing about this movie quite scratched an itch in my brain like watching 90s hotties quote Shakespeare.
Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. Seems she hangs upon the cheek of night, like a rich barbell in a thrasher's ear. Beauty, too rich for use, for earth too dear. Did my heart love till now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night.
Oh my god. I'm not even a fan. I'm not even a fan of Shakespeare. Macbeth is probably the only Shakespeare work that I like at all. But there is just something about the frequent use of literal Shakespeare quotes being used by hottie number one and hottie number two that it's just like, it makes it click for me, and it makes me understand why people find Shakespeare and his language to be incredibly romantic.
If I profane with my unworthiest hand a holy shrine, the gentle sin is this: my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with the tender kiss.
Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, while mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss.
When I was popcorn reading it in class, I didn't feel the romance there at all. But seeing it between Tromeo and Juliet in this adaptation, I understand. It clicked, I get it. That shit is smooth as fuck. And it's another really cool and unique touch. It's just a nice touch. I think it's a really nice touch to remain faithful to the source material by using dialogue from the original play when it would show up. The lines that get used do line up to what's happening in the original play and what's happening in the adaptation. And it's just like, man, it's such a simple, easy detail, and it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Although I will note that I noticed most of the usage of original dialogue from Romeo and Juliet only happened between Tromeo and Juliet. I don't think there were any other characters that said their original lines from the play. But honestly, this probably makes a little bit of sense because, again, it's all about Romeo-Tromeo and Juliet. And they're also going to have like the most romantic and the most memorable lines of the play. So I assume that's probably why it's mostly Tromeo and Juliet quoting their original characters. I know earlier I used Lemmy as an example of me just finding at least one ultra surprising thing or one thing that I didn't expect to happen in a Troma film. But honestly, I feel like the most unexpected thing about watching Tromeo and Juliet is just the fact that it is a genuine, faithful adaptation of its source material. Yes, it's spoofing it and it's a parody of it, but it's not doing so with any annoyance or hatred or mockery. It's doing it with like an actual real love and appreciation for the source material. Like, yes, it is a classic Troma film with plenty of shock value or lowbrow moments or nudity and sex. What else? Like, insane, gross special effects, body horror. It's so like nasty and gnarly and gross and like visually very Troma, and yet at the same time it's so genuinely adapting Romeo and Juliet. I love how much Troma loves Shakespeare. I don't love Shakespeare, but I love how much Troma loves Shakespeare, and I love Troma's adaptation of a Shakespeare work. You know, maybe Shakespeare and Kaufman were the real star-crossed lovers the whole time. Although I cannot stand the source material, Troma makes me love the story of Romeo and Juliet in a way that I think I can understand. And that's also probably why they made it. I can see Tromeo and Juliet turning a crowd who hates Shakespeare into fans by just adapting it in a way that they can more closely relate to or resonate with than the actual play itself. And honestly, we need way more Troma adaptations of Shakespeare. Please, please, pretty please. Yes, I know about the other one. We will be getting to the other one. You know why we're gonna get to the other one? Because the Shakespeare work that it covers, I have a more dark history with than Romeo and Juliet. So yes, of course, we will be covering the other one. I'm just saying, there should still probably be more Troma x Shakespeare films out here. Where's Macbeth? Where is Macbeth? Macbeth is my favorite. I would like Troma to adapt Macbeth, please. Bonus clip of another example of direct dialogue being used that I like a lot.
See how she leans her cheek upon her hand? Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
And I'm supposed to believe that Shakespeare wouldn't love that? Let's get this out of the way first. Yes, Tromeo is a mega hottie. Yes, he is. I will admit it. Thank God that I did not watch this when I was in like middle school or high school, because I would have lost my goddamn mind and been uncontrollably obsessed. Tromeo is gorgeous, okay? Okay? I know you are waiting for me to say it, so there it is. He's beautiful. Moving on. Now, there are quite a few changes to the narrative itself that make this adaptation very uniquely Troma. But I don't know, for me, the highlight of a Troma film, more times than not, is just the characters themselves. Oh my god, do I love the characters that come out of a Troma movie. And Tromeo and Juliet, of course, has some great characters. Now, first of all, I have said it before, I will say it again, I will never stop saying it, I will probably say it every video this summer, perhaps. But god, do I love the way Troma writes women. I love Troma women. They are so they're perfect. Wendy, I believe at this point is forever and always going to be my #1 Troma girl. But I do love the way that Juliet is depicted in this film and a lot of the things that she does. From her using a curling iron as a weapon to her calling a 1-900 number and masturbating. Dude, I love that Troma is not afraid to write their female characters as dirty and perverted and stupid and any other adjective. Any adjective that could be used to define a crazy male character, they apply it to the women too. And I love it so much. This right here, this is the equal rights that I'm looking for. I want to see women looking at porno magazines and calling sex lines and just being gross. It feels like in Tromaville, women have the freedom to be as dirty and gross and perverted and stupid as their counterparts. And you know what? Hell yeah, that is what America is all about. I will forever and always, I think, love women in a Troma movie and how they are chosen to be depicted. I think it is fantastic. But as much as I love how Juliet is depicted, I wouldn't say that she is my favorite character in the film. Actually, I have 2 favorite characters, and both of them are sadly very minor characters. One of them, if you couldn't guess, is London.
It's like olive loaf, but it's not. It's raisin loaf. Why? Because there are raisins in it. Oh, wow! It totally blows my mind. Nobody's ever made a raisin loaf before, Juliet. Nope.
The rich butcher guy that Juliet is supposed to marry, and he's a little crazy. The fact that I love London as a character kind of makes me feel like a bad person because I don't think I like him with the best of intentions. So when he got introduced, I kind of already loved how dorky and weird that he was. And then he got upset for the first time and he started self-harming. And that is when I absolutely fell in love with his character.
You're a vegetarian.
Yes, I have been for quite some...
A vegetarian!
22 cents a pound. Hey, that's the best deal in town.
Dude, I resonate with this psychopath so much. I'm going to feel like an absolute horrible person for saying this, but I think there are people who could argue that I'm a horrible person anyway from looking at the catalog on my channel and the movies that I like. So you know what? Fuck it. Every time that London was very dramatically hurting himself out of extreme despair, I could not stop laughing.
Yes! Hit me. Hit me. You see, no matter what it is, it'll never match the pain inside.
I am my mother's daughter. I laugh at people's pain. London is off as a rocker. I love it. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that I laugh at everyone's pain. There are certain aspects of pain or perhaps methods of pain that I don't think are funny. And there is one character in this movie who I think delivers a lot of pain, where I didn't laugh. I felt very sick. I feel like London, his extremity is meant to be funny, but this character, this man made me feel more disgust, more sickened than I felt watching any of the disturbing iceberg movies so far. And that man is Cap Capulet. Oh. Do y'all hate Leland Palmer? Imagine that, but like 20 times worse. Every single thing that Cap Capulet did made me feel physically ill. And I don't really feel physically ill watching a movie very often. As I said, like for majority of the disturbing cinema movies that I have seen so far, I did not feel nearly as sickened and disgusted and just like I said, physically ill. I literally felt sick to my stomach whenever Capulet was interacting with his daughter Juliet. And honestly, kind of hats off to the actor William Beckwith for playing such a disgusting person and eliciting such a guttural reaction out of me from his performance. I think, congrats? Question mark? This is obviously not the first time that I have ever seen like a very creepy, disgusting, incestuous dad in media. You can just point to movies that we've covered on this channel and find father characters who kind of fit this bill. But for some reason, there is just something different about Capulet that makes me wanna barf. Like, yes, I usually get disgusted with characters like this, but I'm not so physically ill. I'm not so sick to my stomach. I don't feel like I could actually throw up when watching them. And with this character, I do. I feel way more disgusted with his character than I have maybe majority of fictional characters in general.
You horny little cow. Probably dreaming of getting fucked in the ass,
I've never had an actor invoke such a response out of me from their acting job of portraying a character. If you want to know an example of like one specific thing that he does that just anytime I watched this 3 times, anytime that he got to this part, just sick. For some reason, it just really got to me whenever he would be really close to Juliet and he would take these very regular, mundane, feminine beauty projects and suggest that they are sex toys.
Pubescent copulators. Leaving your sex toys all over your room.
And while me explaining it to you right now sounds like comedy, the way the actor portrays him is so... Or just like the way Capulet is constantly like pinning this hypersexuality onto his maybe virgin daughter. I don't want to talk about the glass box. Let's end on a happy note. Like I said, I have 2 favorite characters. Both of them are minor characters, and I already explained one of them to you. Oh man, can you guess who the second one is? I know some of you will. Yes, it is Sammy.
Hey, Georgie. I have some crystal meth in my underwear. Let's go down to the men's bathroom and snort it on up.
Gone too soon. Too good for this world. That loud, annoying, incestuous, punk-ass piece of shit loser Sammy. Sammy is like such a minor part. Such a teeny tiny little minor part of the story. And I have latched onto him like a mother bird who has lost her child and is now found a rock and is taking care of the rock to cope with the loss of her baby. Those are my maternal feelings towards Sammy. He is my rock. Sammy is an absolute piece of shit, but Sammy is also everything to me. He is everything to me. Everything about him, his attitude, the things he says, the way he acts, the way he looks, everything about his character. Oh my god, was this character gone too soon? Although I think I can understand maybe why he was gone too soon. I think his character was just too powerful of a presence. We had to focus on some other people. It couldn't just be the Sammy show. So that's probably why they had to kill him off. I'm just saying that I would have loved for him to be this unkillable punching bag that people use throughout the entire film for violent humor. And it would have made me love him even more. I blame Peter Jackson's bad taste for me expecting him to just get up and be fine after having a giant gashing head wound with like meat falling out of his head. You know why? Because Derek did it. Derek survived. So why can't you, Sammy, you little pussy bitch?
I can't do that. I'm a Derek.
hysterics, don't run.
Overall, I mean, I was expecting to like Tromeo and Juliet. I didn't see a reason why I wouldn't, especially because so many people in my life told me that I would love this movie. However, what I wasn't expecting was for this to be an actual, genuine, and faithful adaptation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And instead of the spoofing being filled with hateful mockery of the source material, it was actually kind of filled with a lot of love and appreciation for it. Which I feel like with Romeo and Juliet, that is a take that is hard to come by, especially in the realm of comedy, because I think most people hate Romeo and Juliet. So I'm very surprised that Kaufman not only likes Romeo and Juliet, but likes Shakespeare in general, I've learned. And honestly, even though I'm not a Shakespeare fan, like, as I have already mentioned, the only one that I really liked was Macbeth. Not big on Shakespeare, don't really care too much. Now, Jane Austen, I can get behind. But Shakespeare, no. However, I do love how much Troma and Kaufman love Shakespeare, and I love Troma's version of a Shakespeare work a lot. As I said, I feel like I can resonate with it more, I can relate to it more, and I can understand it more because, well, he basically translated it for, like, people with the mentality of a middle school boy to understand. Have to make sure there's plenty of boobs and blood to keep the viewer's attention. But no, I really love Tromeo and Juliet. I really love it. It is still very, very Troma, and yet at the same time, it is handling the subject matter in a serious manner, but serious for Troma's standards. Man, there's still so much that I didn't even get into. God, the soundtrack is so incredible. It's so good. Who gave this Troma film the right to have such a good soundtrack? And so what tier will I be ranking Tromeo and Juliet? I feel like it's gonna be obvious, and I almost worry that this is going to be the ranking for every film this summer. I hope it's not. I'm sorry if it is, but I think obviously Tromeo and Juliet is getting the A tier. I think even if you're a person who isn't into Troma movies, you could still watch this and probably appreciate it. You know, as long as you're able to like stomach some gross stuff, if you're not 100% opposed to it, then yeah, I think there are plenty of people who aren't probably typically Troma fans who could watch this and absolutely love it. You know, for an example, I feel like my mom could potentially like this, and I can think of a handful of friends that I could show this to, and even though they wouldn't even know what Troma is, I could show this to them and they would love how campy and absurd it is while still being like a serious Shakespeare piece. It's just like, man, it's such a good balance. It's a very great balance of the serious nature of adapting the play and throwing in the absurd, vulgar, crazy Troma features. So yeah, this is obviously an A tier. It is so well crafted. I completely understand why so many people have told me to watch this. I am sorry, very, very sorry I didn't watch it sooner, but hey, now I have. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stuck around all the way until the very end. If you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, is there a movie that you would like to hear my opinion on? Put it down in the comments and maybe you'll see it show up in a future video. Also, did you just like this video so much that you want to hear me ramble about more horror movies, B-movies, weird hidden gems on Tubi? The next 2 months are nothing but Troma flicks, so if you like Troma, stick around for that. If you'd just like to hear me ramble about more movies in general, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. Which new uploads are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on the screen are some of my socials as well. If you would like some additional STARGUTZZZ content, right here is the live channel. There is a backlog of old streams. I don't know when streams are starting up again, just like I don't know if next week you're still gonna see this background or not. It is all up in the air right now. And just one final thank you so much if you stuck around all the way until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you used your time to sit here and listen to me mindlessly ramble about this Troma adaptation of a Shakespearean piece, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and the time spent to watch this video. It means a whole lot to me. It means the world to me. So I won't see you in a live stream for a while. Hopefully the next time you see me, I will finally be in a new place. I hope. Please. But I will see you in the next video. But until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.
Shall we gather at the river where bright angels we have tried with the crystal tide forever that flows to the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. We gather with the saints at the river.